Welcome to the More of That podcast with the band Shiloh Battles. I'm Bo, and we've got Lucas and Dan with us, where we're talking about art, music, beauty, and Jesus. So let's jump right into it.
Make sure that you head to the YouTube channel, subscribe, turn that notifications bell on to stay caught up. You can head to shallowbattles.com to stream the music. You can also head to amazon.com. All of Bo's books are available there. And the new book, Prayers of a Reluctant Saint, which we will spend time talking about today and going forward. Let's jump into it.
Sweet.
So Shiloh Battles. What are we doing?
I don't know. Like, what is
I don't
that all
know.
about?
I think it'd be great to maybe start there. Like what is Shiloh Battles? Like what is that name? What's behind it? And I know you have a story about that, Bo. And
Well, everybody loves a good origin story.
yes, yeah,
So it's been 2-3 decades of this name kind of kicking around in my head, Shiloh Battles. And it was odd because I've never known anyone named Shiloh Battles or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I started digging in, thinking, well, what is this about? So, a little Google search, discovered that the word Shiloh is a Hebrew word that is often used for peace.
Mm.
And then, of course, the word battles means, to battle, to war. And then Shiloh was the site of the bloodiest battle of the U.S. Civil War.
Mm.
And so toying around with that name and kind of chewing on it, I realized, it's really about this struggle every human being has to find peace within, the war with oneself, the civil war on the inside, the battle for peace. And that there is a wonderful solution to that. But it's not found by comparing ourselves to the world outside. I mean, that's one option that we tend to do. We look outward and try to compare ourselves to other people and see if we measure up or are better than, or somehow are okay, and find our identity that way. Or we take that inward turn and go deep within and look for the answers on the inside. And when you go like into the cave of self, you're going to find a bear eventually. And that bear of self, which is often unbearable, like for me, at least, I think for most people. And so there's an upward look, an external look that takes us to our Creator. He is an external source who provides the peace that we're so desperate for. And when we make peace with God, then we can have peace with ourselves, with the bear, and then we can have peace with our world. So Shiloh Battles.
Yeah.
I want you to say more about the I would love to hear more about the comparison reference that you just made, where I've seen that in my life. I've seen the times in my life where there has been the comparison model, and I'm comparing myself to him, to them, to this, to that, and man, there was zero peace during that time. But I didn't make the connection between the comparison aspect of what I was experiencing. It was almost like a subconscious thing or an unconscious thing that was happening to me. And so that being a part of Shiloh Battles and what it means, like, can you say more about that?
I definitely can. Dan, you've probably felt that a lot, being on stage and, people looking at you. You've probably seen that going both ways.
Yeah.
What's been your experience with that?
Comparison is so damaging. When you look out around, like you said, you're in this pursuit for peace, right? And if you demand peace for yourself, then it's how can I prove to myself that I'm better than everyone? And that's where I will find peace in some way. So you're comparing, and there's either really highs or lows to that, but it's exhausting. You never win at that. There's a total, like you said, there's a total lack of peace. Whether I've compared myself to others or others have compared themselves, to me, or being highly visible just kind of sets you up to be comparable in both directions. And so there's a real importance of guarding the heart, or like when you do look to when you do look to God as the external source, you start to discover peace looks totally different than what you were seeing or what you were feeling. And so that's life-giving. But yeah, comparison is, what's the phrase there that I think we've heard before? Comparison is the enemy of joy. Is it?
certainly the enemy of peace, which
Yeah,
that may
certainly
not
the
be the
enemy of
phrase,
peace.
but
Yeah.
that's certainly what we're talking about. Yeah, the
The
reason
thief of joy.
of joy. Okay,
Comparison is the thief of joy.
thief
Yeah,
of joy.
thief of
All right.
joy.
Yeah. By the way, I like to say, no one can steal your joy, but you
Yeah.
can give it away. And that, I mean, that's just an empowering statement. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, this person stole my joy, or this situation stole my joy. But
Right.
no one can steal your joy. It's yours. But
You're giving it.
we can
Yeah.
make a choice to give it away. And one of the ways that we do that is by comparing ourselves to other people. So the reason I asked Dan that particular question is because you're extremely talented, and there's no argument about that. And beyond the talent, there's also dedication, hard work, development of your craft and your abilities, and that's very clear and easy for people to see. I come from more of an athletics bent, in sports, and in sports, that we were always told, like, if you're comparing yourself to other people, you'll always find someone better.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's not hard. There's always somebody who can run faster, lift more weight, achieve at a higher.
Or you'll find somebody worse than you and then become the judge and the,
Right.
now
That's
you're
the-
like, I'm better than you.
yeah. And so you'll get complacent, and so coaches can use those things as like a motivator, but it does rob you of the joy of playing a sport.
Mm.
And it is or you give that joy away. Again, you can't be robbed of it, but you relinquish that, as opposed to just having a peace in that. Again, that peace, because you start thinking, all right, well, I'll just turn inward and be comfortable with who I am, and that's no peace either. Because if you know yourself very well, there's all kinds of things that are like, oh, that's not exactly where I want it to be, or where my world wants it to be. My family, my friends, my neighbors, the communities that I'm functioning in, like, that's not helpful. So where do I find the transformation? And it doesn't come outward or inward. It's this upward transcendence, with a connection to one who is greater than us, the greatest one, who offers to come and to make his home with us. And he says, yeah, I'll hang out with you. And that's like, man, like, really? Like, you'll hang out with me, God? That's pretty amazing.
I think, yeah. I think so I would agree with all of that. I think the struggle, I remember the struggle for me was wanting to be, you brought up sports, having that sports background. It's like, how do you be the best that you can be? How do you sharpen your skill? How do you grow your gift, your talent, whatever that thing is?
How do you measure that?
Yeah, like, so there's a thing of comparing yourself to others for the purpose of making yourself feel better about yourself, or worse about yourself, whichever angle you're going. Well, this person's so much better than me, I'll never get there. What's the point of trying? Or I'm so much better than these people, they'll never get to where I am. Where's the balance of, like, where we want to? There's none.
No balance.
No
We need a
balance.
better motivation, because
The wrong motivation.
it's the wrong on all sides. I mean, it just
Right.
becomes the wrong motivation. So with Shiloh Battles, the band, and what we're creating and making, our mantra is make it beautiful. And so our motivation is
New album coming.
yeah,
More
little
of
plug
that.
there. Yeah,
Little plug,
more
little
of
plug.
that, yeah.
Might be out already. I don't know.
Is to bring and reveal. It's there. It's really the revelation of beauty in our world. And so the beauty that's in us, the beauty that is in music, art, the beauty that is in a relational context with Jesus and with people. And so that's the motivation to work hard, develop, to get better, to improve, is not to prove myself, not for you to prove, not for any of us to prove ourselves. We have nothing to prove. And that's incredible, to ourselves or to the world around us.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then the motivation is to be. And when he, our creator, declares that you are beautiful, that we are beautiful, then be beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's really sweet.
It is.
That is sweet. It's freeing.
It is that, and that's the experience. That's not only the framework, but like the foundation of then being able to experience the freedom and take the risks and be vulnerable and not looking to satisfy anything other than what other than your creator and what he's created you to do, you know, and there is joy in there. There is peace in there. There's a relationship in that. And I think that's what we experience too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm excited about and just enjoying, I guess, and just being in is that, this idea of Shiloh battles, the battle for peace within. And for me, Jesus is that peace. And that's what I found in my life is just that having that relationship with the creator through Jesus and just that's my inner peace. I mean, inside myself, that's a storm, and Jesus is there, sort of calming that storm. And I guess, so we're saying this, but how does that translate into what we're doing musically? I think that's
Well,
fun to unpack.
yeah. What it has us doing is really, in having experienced the comparison, lacking peace, you turn inward, and that's where you get the bear, right? You turn inward into the cave, and that's who we are. That's each of us. Actually, it doesn't go really well when someone says, "Hey, what's the point of the bear?" And shout. I'm like, "Oh, you don't think that looks like you, or me? You don't think I look like this?" But that's really what it is it's each of us, right? And so from out of this, and when we start to discover who we were created for and what we were created for, we can start to put words and music to the human experience with God and what he's doing. And I think that's the opportunity that the art gives us, is to express, what that relationship looks like, what that experience is.
So the way that we typically work, and this is for the audience to hear and to know, and I think it's important. Bo is a writer. Bo, you're a writer. You've written umpteen books. Not sure. You've written quite a few books, and you've written poetry. I've come to know you as somebody that a lot of what I feel pours out of you with lyrics is like almost like a spark. Like you'll get a spark to like kindling, and then you'll be like, whoosh, it'll be like a sentence. Be like, listen to this sentence, and you'll say a sentence, and then it'll be like, okay, he's gonna build around this. So that's
I don't smoke,
but if
I did, I'd roll my own.
I roll my own, right?
What was the other one about Denver? That was the.
I wet the bed in Denver.
I wet the
Not
bed
a
in
song
Denver.
yet, but
Not a song.
I wet the bed
I think
in
he was
Denver.
just
That's all you need to
confessing.
know. It's provoking thought,
Yeah.
right? It's an intrigue.
Slipped
an
inside your
interest.
mind for a lazy holiday, or any of the songs that we
Inaction is
together.
the best form of action. Like
Inaction is the best course of action.
Course of action.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, every lyric that you've said was the first lyric in each of those songs that I wrote.
Right.
Yeah. So you're pinpointing them.
Yeah. So it's like I think it would be great to just kind of think through. Like, I'd love to hear from you. Like, what's your journey been? Because Bo writes all the lyrics for the songs that we record, and of course Dan and I contribute when we need to, and that's what I love about the agreeability of what we're doing. And Bo will co-produce stuff, and Dan will co-mix stuff, and so we're doing this together. We all kind of have a specialty in what we do and what we bring to the table, but. So a long history of communicating and writing and doing all that. So now you're like, all right, I'm going to start writing songs, I guess. Right. So like what?
So real fast, I just want to bring it right back to to make it beautiful.
Yep.
Because that's the origin of this. So in writing and any kind of art, music, anything else, any expression of our lives, which is really, if you think of your life as an expression of art, of beauty into our world, for most people, the journey does come with, okay, what do other people want from me? What do they expect? What are they looking for from me? What makes me a good little boy or girl? What gets me, a gold star? What gets me a check mark? What gets me an A?
Is this comparison? Is this
what is the
part
teacher?
of that?
Yeah, it's the external,
Yeah.
like looking out at things, going, how do I measure up? Am I on the honor roll? Did my parents get a bumper sticker for their car? Are they proud of me? Do they have something to talk about at cocktail parties? Whatever that may be. That's where we're looking for that validation typically, but it is so insufficient and so lacking. So you can do the same thing in writing. I'm going to write what people want, so we can translate that into music. I'm going to write music that people want. So what do people listen to? What do they like? What might they consume? So you write and make music for the consumer, which then is a copy of a copy of a copy, and so it's blurred and it doesn't pop. It might be pop music, but it doesn't pop. Yeah. And so
Dirty pop.
right back into then, okay, so then the next iteration of that, and they're not always linear, this kind of goes back and forth, would be to go, okay, well, what do I want? So it's the artistic turn inward, to
I don't care about anybody else.
find my true self and, express my inner
Sorry.
truth. Yeah, I know. But it's an
No.
important part of the journey. It's an important part of the exploration. And if that may be where you are.
Yeah.
You're in the
right
cave.
now.
You're looking around.
Yeah, you're exploring that. You're a spelunker. You're wearing a hard hat with a light on the top of your head. That's fine. And so you're in there and trying to figure out, who you are and what that means, but there's no one to share it with. And so that's why it's insufficient. The answers of turning inward, it's important to look inside. It's important to know yourself. It's important to wrestle, with the bear of who you are. These are important parts of the journey, but that's where it's insufficient because it's alone, and we're not created for aloneness. We're created for community with God, but also with one another, and that's where art is made for community. Music is made for community. It's made for sharing. And so the connection with your creator, with a God who knows you and loves you and gives you that peace, but then also restores you to community with other people. So right back to the lyrics. Now I'm writing a lyric. You guys are the first people I've ever met that I could say a phrase like, I don't smoke, but if I did, I'd roll my own. Huh? I don't, I'm going to say it again. I'll say like,
More of that.
and you guys are like, okay, yeah, that could be something. What is that? I was like, oh, okay. Because I can't take a lyric and make music, which is really good. I don't have the ability to do that. I need community. I require that, but we all do. For if we're really going to make it beautiful, that's what we're made for. And so to be able to bring a thought and to be with other people who have peace and are open to that, to go, well, yeah, let's explore that together. And that's where the beauty and the passion really comes out. And I think what makes Shiloh Battles so special.
If we want to peel the curtain back a little bit on just the process and how it might typically go to, as we've been writing now, let's just say we've got just a whole catalog full of songs that
we have 36 songs.
36 songs.
36.
I can tell you,
like we don't know.
Let's not. Yeah, let's. I'm trying to be
36 songs that are done and record. There are many more.
Many more.
Yeah.
If somebody said, "Hey, if somebody asked like us what the most challenging song was to write and record, I don't know that there was one. Do you know what I'm saying?
The next one.
Yeah, like the one we haven't done yet.
True.
It feels like and I know other people experience this, but I mean the lyrics, they come in and Dan and I will get them, we'll hear them, we'll immediately try to, or not immediately, but we'll sketch out ideas, or we'll sit together, we'll have times of writing, but it just feels like there's no real resistance to that process for me anyways. It just feels natural. It feels organic. It just feels right. And that's how we've been able to come up with 36 completed songs. Whether they're good or not, I don't know. I love them.
Whoa.
Hold on. I love them.
Don't stop lying right now.
They're not good.
Subjective.
They're amazing.
This is not the
Understood.
podcast where everybody goes, yes, I agree. That's not true.
No,
they're
yeah.
wonderful.
They're amazing.
They're
beautiful.
wonderful.
They're not
songs.
good. They're great.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah, no, they're very wonderful. And that's what we hear. We've had opportunities to share them. We've done the Rex, we've done Bedford, and we just did a concert, Praise of a Reluctant Saint. What a beautiful expression, an opportunity, having a band there, having these songs go from, times of like writing to recording and vocals and all of that, and
Sharing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, what are you thinking on that, Dan?
Well, part of the beauty and part of the wonder of it when we're writing, for me, is like lyrics matter, like words matter, they're powerful. And even in a writing process, that it's like, okay, we're not just being given song lyrics, we're given things to think about. And sometimes even before we can wrap our heads around what it is all about, what are these lyrics all about,
Mm.
something about those lyrics subconsciously can be working already and stirring to where we could be productive musically and creative musically
Resonation, yeah.
with what we have, you know? I think that's the thing that my creativity has really it's been starving for things worth asking in music, you know,
Mm.
or saying or provoking of thought. Like those things really matter in songs. And we were talking the last week about, you know, just I went through a playlist of all these different songs looking for just like wanting to be moved in some kind of way or to just have thought be provoked or just something that I can enjoy that way. Found tons of things musically that I thought were cool and stuff, but nothing that out of the gate was just like, oh, it's kind of like writing a book, right? When like those first few sentences you write there are going to determine whether anyone's going to go any further or not, you know?
Mm.
And so when we're fortunate to work with that right out of the gate, then it's like, oh wow, yeah, this is whether I know in my mind exactly of how we want to work with this or not, like the lyric is already moving, the lyrics are already working, the creativity is already being stirred. We can already look forward to where this is going to go. Like,
Mm.
Yeah, and that's the community. Like,
yeah,
so like even, and I don't always do this, but maybe half the time, somewhere around, and maybe it's more, I don't know. But I'll share lyrics and I'll go, okay, here's what I'm hearing, and I'll try to use the language that I have to describe, since I don't know music, you know, what I'm hearing, what kind of tone, what kind of vibe, and what emotion, things like that. And then you guys are able to like go like and start in that vein, and then we bounce off each other, and it's a blast. Like, but that's why it's so great doing it in community, you know, to be like, all right, this is what I'm, you know, or I can pull out, I can hold my guitar and have a simple chord progression and the strum pattern and write lyrics over it, and then be like, ugh, you know?
yeah,
But then share the lyrics and then hear the actual, like the song, like
Materialize,
the
yeah.
way it is, and go, oh yeah, that's what I was trying to hear. in my,
yeah.
but
Mm.
The song that comes to my mind when we're talking about this is "Kings Till They Die" because I remember like a voice memoed it and out of GarageBand or something and sent it to you. I'm like, I don't know if this is like the right direction, but I really feel like this is cool. But that opening line, right? Fat cats with baseball bats call their shots to pad their stats. It's, you know, it was like what I realized in hearing that lyric or reading that lyric was like, okay, like we're talking about all those are it's like low and like talking about um those kings, you know, or those people, and we're just like mumbling amongst ourselves and just stirring a pot and like you know, and just so that was just an example of what you were considering community and from your perspective in that, and then for mine to get lyric like that and be like, oh, I'm going here. Like, oh yeah, this is working well together. And it just starts off with and I was like, I already feel like that's where it needs to get dirty. Trying to express it is kind of, and explain is
Yeah.
trickier, but we haven't done that yet. But
I I resonate with what you said a minute ago. You said your creativity was like starving.
yeah,
And when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, that okay, I think I might have a little language around what Shiloh Battles feels like. It feels like a great meal. It's like feels like being satiated. You know what I mean? Like you were hungry, you were thirsty, you had a great meal. And so that's what it feels like when we get together and we write and we record. It's like the starvation, the creative starvation of wanting to have that synergy and that chemistry. It's just it's there. So it's like super like fulfilling, I guess, in that way, to be able to come together and express creatively. That is, the, like you said, community. Um,
and haven't you even more so like even listening to other music, just found and appreciated songs that like man, that I like what that song is saying. Like there's some good lyric there. Just
Mhm.
other songs and examples of,
Yeah.
and it's not in the comparison vein. It's more just like, oh, I really have like a deep, profound appreciation for something that says something in a really
Mm.
clever way. Yeah.
And so the three of us, like when we're listening to music and we find something beautiful, we're like, we can't wait to share with each other. Like, hey, have you heard this? You know, are you familiar with this? And oh, this is a sound I really like. You know, and
Hmm.
that that's part of that. I mean, and the vulnerability, the trust, the respect, you know, all those things that you could kind of insert into here to say is what makes, you know, these things work. But none of those things come without peace. You know, right back to, you know, where we started. When you have peace, you know, with God, you can have peace with yourself, and then you can have peace with each other. And so even when we argue, it's like we're actually forcefully agreeing,
Yes.
which is so much
Disagreeing
fun.
to agree.
It's like,
I don't know. I don't think we've ever had that.
yeah.
We never
Okay,
argue.
so when Lucas and I yell at each other,
But we usually
I
arguing
just go
about
back
the
to the
same
corner.
thing.
With my
We're
tail.
agreeing.
No, we're all.
why are we yelling at each other in agreement?
Why are we yelling in agreement? The guitar should be louder. The guitar should be louder.
Make the guitars louder.
Little conflict, you know?
So, one other comment I would make, you know, from the writing standpoint is the how important this is to me is as a communicator, someone who's spent hours, thousands of hours, you know, on stage talking
Mhm.
and written thousands and thousands of words and books, is that, you know, I was at a place where all that's valuable, and I continue to do that and explore that. But I was like, I'm not sure that another talk, another book will ever change the world, but I have this thought that a song might. And just something about music and lyric, and them coming together, to like get inside the soul, you know,
Mm.
to really capture the heart, and to give something, a gift to people to hold on to. And that's a motivation. Like, you know, when we talk about making it beautiful, like here's a great opportunity,
Yeah.
you know, to do that. So what song's the hardest to write? You know, I said the next one, but you know, the lyric, you know, um, all alone when nowhere's home, hit the road to find my father,
Mm.
searched and searched, came up dry, mama said you shouldn't bother.
Mm.
You know, like we haven't written that song necessarily yet,
Right.
um,
But this is how it starts.
but that's how it starts.
Right.
Yeah, that's an element of who we are, like discovering,
Mm.
you know, where's home, where do we belong.
Mm.
And there is a belonging, you know, that happens here,
Yeah.
that helps produce that beauty.
I love what you just said about the song. Maybe a song could change the world. Like not this, not that, but maybe a song might change the world. I'm curious, like what has a song changed your world? Because I know that I don't know that it's one song that changes the world forever, but I know I've had many songs over the course of my life that have changed my world in that time. Like as a producer and an engineer and things like that, there's been songs that have just hit me so deep that it's actually caused me to get to work and want to better my craft or want to be better at what I am or who I am or whatever. But I'm curious, just has a song changed your world, you know? I know I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's been so many over the years. Like different times, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Different errors, you know?
You just go back.
You
Like
go back,
you go
yeah.
back. Like I remember, like The Devil Went Down to Georgia, Charlie Daniels Band. I was like, what is this? You know?
Yeah.
And then you know, like the Cars' first album, what is this?
Hmm.
And you know, and then, you know, Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and Culture Club. And I'm like, what is this?
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. Like, what is
Yep.
this? Beastie Boys, what is this? You know, you know, Metallica. What is
Whoa,
this?
yeah.
Nirvana, Pearl Jam. Oh, what is, you know? It's
Yep,
like,
yep.
you know, and it just keeps going,
Keeps going, yeah.
from there. And those are all like things where like,
Mm.
there's emotion here that
Mm.
I resonate with, and there's an expression for that.
Mm.
and things that capture and captivate the heart because it resonates. And
Yeah.
so it echoes in there,
It's just magic.
and
in
it gives you expression for what you feel.
Mm.
That's just
Yeah. I think that's the magic of music and the beauty of music. It's a universal language.
Yeah. Sometimes there's so many different songs and genres that are so influential over the years. It's kind of like when you say, well, what's your favorite song? Oh, I don't know.
What's
There's
your
so many
favorite
that have been
food?
influential, you know. I can remember a year of time where multiple times a day I just played the same album. I
Yeah.
just played the same song every
Yeah.
single day, you know. And incredibly different, but what the soul or emotion needed, or
Mhm.
what the mind really needed to think about in that season. Like we talked about, like the Nathaniel Rateliff album before, that was
Great
like
record.
big. 2020, 21 was like, that was just a great album to
It's a great palette.
listen
it's a
to,
sound
and
shaper.
I really enjoy. But yeah, and
You turned me onto that.
yeah, but like you said, there's so many, and they're all so influential when you go back over
you remember
time.
my Daniel Johnston phase?
Yeah. Yes. Bought the t-shirt.
Like, I'm not sure it ever really ended. Like, I go back and hang out there for a month at a time.
Yeah.
Easily. But so the cool thing about that is pop music, all the way to like stuff that other people might think is like, what's that?
Yeah, that was me a couple weeks ago listening to. I was on a drive to Tennessee, and I spent 4.5 hours listening to Dream Theater. And I tried mentioning it to somebody like it would matter, like they knew what I was talking about. They're like, "Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about." But this is like progressive metal. Like there's very few people in my life that like it and know it, enjoy it. But I needed to listen to this for 4.5 hours. The credible thing is that it was only like 3 albums, because those are how long each songs
The
are.
prog metal community is pretty tight knit.
They are pretty tight knit. We all share the same tattoo. No.
My approach to music is so different than you guys, and so I loved when you guys started doing this, talking about album, because I'm an engineer, so like I think about engineers that I like, and I listen to stuff they made.
Yeah.
So it's like I've always been more attracted to like who mixed this, who produced this, and then I would find those catalogs, and I'd say, so I was almost like reverse engineering my listening phase would be like, who made this? Okay, this guy made it. I love that engineer. What did he make? Oh, he just made this album, and then I would go listen, and it would be a well-known album, but that was always my approach. I was always coming from like, who made it? How was it made? I want to hear what they did. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's a horrible way to listen to music.
But that's a great part of what you bring to the community of like when we're working on Shiloh Battle songs, you're producing Shiloh Battle songs, you have this pool of knowledge and of the qualities of a good mixer, the qualities of a good master. Who do we need to send this to?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because you know how to be selective.
Right.
While at the same time being the musician, at the same time being the one who's mixing it and knows the vibe.
I do feel like I'm missing out a little bit, but that's just been my life's approach. But I do wish I was a little bit more of a consumer.
We're trying to help you.
I know. Thank you. I listen to you guys. You guys go, well, this album, and then I'll be like on the side Googling it, and then I'll be like, I'm going to listen to that.
Make a note.
Well, now you guys, you know what's happened? You guys have become the engineers that I look up, and now you guys are just advising me what I should be listening to indirectly. So now I'm hearing you talk about it, and I'm going, okay, let me see what this is about. That's how my curiosity works. I
love it.
Yeah, it's been very different, but
that concludes the first episode of the Shiloh Battles podcast. More of that, right? To follow us online, go to shilohbattles.com. You can stream the music. You can go to amazon.com and purchase the book, Prayers of a Reluctant Saint. Came out recently with the album, written by Bo Chansey. And here we are, Shiloh Battles podcast. We're doing it.
Catch you on the next one.